Hi everyone, welcome
Hello.
to the video.
Hi.
Ethan?
Hi.
We're going to be doing the front and rear brakes on a 2017 Q60. So we're going to go ahead, back it in and get it up on the stands, and we'll bring you back and show you how we did it. So here we are, and so the things that you're going to need to replace the brake pads on 2017 Q60. You're going to want a standard socket set, specifically a 14mm socket to get the brake caliper bolts out. 21mm socket for the lug nuts. You're going to want a torque wrench, a breaker bar, variety of pry bars. You're going to want some brake parts cleaner. Never hurts to have some never sees on the back of your wheels. Something to tie the calipers up out of the way. Again, for cleaning, just a wire brush, a mallet, just in case you need to give some encouragement to one of the bolts. Then you're going to need your new hardware. We've got front and rear pads, all the stainless steel hardware that came in the kit. You're also going to want some brake grease. Here we are. We have the vehicle up in the air. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to get in here with the 14mm wrench. You see just here on the back of the slider bolts. What we like to do is take out the bottom bolt completely, and then we're going to pivot it up and slide this guy out. Before we do that, you'll see us put a pry bar in here to push the piston back. So now we're going to back off caliper slider pin, and he'll pull out. So now Terry has already pushed the piston back in, so he's going to pull the caliper up over. It should slide right back. There it goes, and he'll set it aside. And here you can see the old hardware and pads, and these will just slide out. Same with the back. Okay, once the pads are out, you should be able to pop out the hardware, top and bottom. You may need a pry bar. So then we'll go ahead and we're going to clean up all of these surfaces where the pads and the hardware touch. And while we're at it, we'll clean up the hub and get some never sees on it. So what we're doing here is applying the grease, and we'll put it on both sides of the hardware, and then we'll do the tabs on the new brake pads. We took the time off camera then to clean up the wire brush, and then the same thing with the hub, and then we put on our never sees. Next, we're going to install the hardware. And the new one should snap down in place just like the old ones came off. Terry makes it look easy.
I try.
I'm glad the top one fit in. Squeal tab, it goes to the top on the inside. You can see how nicely that fits in against the rotor. Both sides and then fit top and bottom in the slots. Hardware's in the right place. So the next thing to do is we're going to grease up our caliper pin. There, hard to see. Basically, we'll grease up that one, then we'll slide in the caliper. Okay, so next, reverse the process. So we're going to slide the top pin in. And because we pushed the piston back with the pry bar before we started, we're going to have enough clearance, hopefully. There we go. Put in the bottom slider pin. slide in. I'm going to thread that one in by hand as much as we can to make sure it didn't go in across thread. Use the 14 mil socket. And there we are, we're done. So we go ahead and make sure that these are torqued tight, these two 14 mils. We didn't touch anything else. Everything is cleaned up. Right now you can see there's a little bit of play, so when you lower the car, get in and first thing just depress your brake pedal and it will refill the line and get everything snugged back up before you drive away. We are now just going to pop the wheel back on, and that is it for the rear. All right, so here we are at the front. So it's going to be very similar to the rear to change the pads. So I'm going to try to get in back here. Basically what we're going to have to do is loosen this 14 millimeter bolt right here, and it will be much smaller, and you'll notice that the slider is actually still mounted as part of the caliper bracket. So we remove this one, and then we're going to be able to pry the pad and the caliper piston back in to be able to swing it up and slide it back out of place and tie it up. So what we're doing here is we have the pry bar wedged in behind the brake pad, and with a little leverage against the rotor, we're going to be able to slide the caliper towards the outside of the rig, and that's actually going to push the two pistons back. The caliper should actually slide freely. There you go. All right, so once your caliper is tied up out of the way, you'll notice that the pads are now exposed. On the front, something to pay attention to is these little springs on the hardware. They are actually in behind the pads. It slides out. These springs will have a little tang right there. So make sure that the pad pushes the spring in. Show you up on the bench how we're going to apply the new hardware and put the springs in. All right, so we're going to install the new springs that came in the kit to match the old ones. So quickly, we're just going to thread the top of the spring in, tweak it underneath. Oops. There you go. So now we'll just pull out the back pad. And then the hardware should come up. Top. Take the time to clean up some of these surfaces, clean up the hub and apply some Never Sees. And then so off camera, we've basically applied the silicone grease to all of the hardware and to the tabs of the pads, and now we'll be the reverse of the process. Hardware was clipped down in place. Okay, we're at the step in the process now where we're going to reinstall the outside pad. We've already gone ahead and inserted the inside pad. Make sure that the springs are pushed inside the pad. We then use the clamp just to hold it in place while we are positioning, because those springs are strong enough that they're actually going to pop the pad out. So next is to put the outside one on. He's just working to push the, make sure that the spring is inside the pad. Top's in. There we go. I'll throw the clamp back on. Just before we went to slide the caliper on, we decided to push the pistons back in just a little bit further to make sure we have clearance because of the tricky springs. So what we did was simply stack some of the old pads in, used a couple of pry bars to squeeze them back. Now we've got the slider pin in the top. And now we've got to try and get it down over without the pads popping out with the springs. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and install bottom 14 millimeter. And once that's snugged up and tight, we are done with the fronts. So we're then going to go ahead and check and make sure that we've got everything tight. Put our never sees on the face of our hub and on the back of the wheel, and we'll get her on the ground. So there we are, back on the ground. Terry just finished by torquing the wheels. So I hope the video was of some help for you. Special thanks to Terry for swinging by the shop and bringing his car.
Oh, thank you.
Catch you on the next one.